All right, let's do this. Question from the audience. A lot of people are asking it right now. It's 2023, January 4th. Economy looks like it's not going to be going too well. Interest rates are high. People are asking, should this be the year I start a farm? I want to tell you guys a story in answering this. Maybe give you a few tools that'll help you as you're making these kind of decisions. And you'll have to pardon me, I've got a cold or something that's settled in my chest. We just got home from Texas, picked up something in the airport or what have you. So I'm not dropping my voice down a few octaves like Liver King for the views. It's just what's going on right now. Got some snot flowing, got my water here in case I need it, but sitting out on the patio on a 60-degree January evening, which is extremely unusual here in Virginia. I'll take you back to 2008, the last big financial crisis the United States went through. And I was in the Marine Corps. I had been in 4 years at that point, done 2 deployments. My wife, Laura, had stayed home. She had a couple different jobs, but at that time she was working in banking. And we were at the same point of we knew we ultimately wanted to leave those jobs and come back to my Virginia where I lived and start a farm in the area. Get cat, don't be bumping my tripod. He's an annoying one. And so we were having these discussions as the financial meltdown was underway. Of course, when you're less than a year left in the military, recruiter, your career officer, I guess, or manager, planner, they start having these conversations and trying to get you to re-enlist. And so there were a couple things I looked at that time, but none of them worked out in a way that was a win for everybody. And so at some point in 2008, I walked into kind of the main control area of the squadron. It's called maintenance control. And one of the senior staff NCOs there who was running it, everybody kind of knows who's getting out when it's, coming up on reenlistment time for guys who are, sergeants and above. And so he asked me, he's like, Green, are you going to reenlist to go on this next deployment? And I was like, no, I'm going to get out. My wife and I are going to move back to Virginia and start a farm. And he looked at me and he said, that is the dumbest thing I have ever heard, and proceeded to go down the list of all the reasons I should not. And I had to tell him, you know what, you're right. This may be the dumbest thing that we've ever done, but this is the time for us to do this and to jump off the cliff. We don't want to start a business once we have a bunch of kids and a lot of financial obligations that make it much more risky. We needed to do it at a time where the risk of a catastrophic failure was not a huge deal in our lives, because we didn't have that much to risk. We just had ourselves and a lot of work that we were ready to put into the business. So we moved back here to Virginia in the summer of 2009 and started our farm, which became J&L Green Farm, which is our business that we've had to this day. So going on 14 years now, or 13 years. And by any measurable method out there, this has been a successful business for us. It pays both of our incomes. It has built personal wealth and equity. It has allowed us to start other businesses, to buy land, to employ people, and to have an impact in our local community here, and also for the community of eaters that supports our farm. But I also realized that we were one of the lucky ones. Starting a farm, is batting somewhere in the 90 percentile failure rate. And so we were lucky. We did take a lot of steps to put ourselves in a position to be successful, and a lot of things fell into place in order for that success to be attained by us. But it certainly does carry a lot of risk. Something I've learned, as a business grows and you're managing, a smaller business, a medium-sized business, and then a larger one, the things that you worry about never go away. They just start having more zeros on them, and the consequences of your decisions have more zeros attached to them. So you're always at risk. Something I've said is, as an entrepreneur, you have to have a very high tolerance for being associated with risk. Not that you do risky things per se, but you're always on the field with risk, and you're maneuvering and strategizing and managing and mitigating that risk. But it is part of the process and part of what it takes in order to be successful. So, a couple things that helped us be successful early on that maybe if you're in this spot of considering starting a farm, will help you. One, when you're starting a farm business, it doesn't matter as much what the general economy is doing. People have to eat 3 times a day. And that's one of the things that was an encouragement for us when we started was, look, if this doesn't work, we're going to eat really well for several years. People have to eat. Now, the money that they will spend on food, of course, will ebb and flow depending on economic conditions. But for people who care about food, it's one of the last things that they'll trim back on. So we started a high-end food business in the middle of an economic crisis. So that part doesn't concern me as much. What you need to look for is a convergence of several things in order for a business to have good footing to get itself going. The first thing that you need to have is opportunity. There's several things that nest underneath opportunity. Do you have land that you can work with? Do you have capital available to start with? Is your lifestyle in a place where you can do something that is higher risk? The first year that we were operating, we paid ourselves $10,000. We lived on not much of anything, but that was the risk that we were willing to take, and we were in a position to do so. So market, capital, personal risk, where do these opportunities, and what are you going to produce? Is there a sales outlet for it? All those nest under opportunity. The other things that you have to look out for is, like I said, risk, market, opportunity, all these things cramming into one space. How does that play out underneath your personal context? So, opportunity and risk. Those are the two things that you're looking at when you're starting a farm. With risk, what's the personal risk for you starting this? Should it fail, what are the consequences of that? What risks can be mitigated by those opportunities? What risks are you just going to have to take and go out there and get started? My personal take on it was be all in at the beginning. Both of us quit our jobs. I left the military, she left banking, we went out and started the farm. And for us, it worked. But we did fully commit, which gave us the time to work those 12, 16-hour days, 360 days out of the year to get the business off the ground. So going all in gives you either you're going to make it or you're going to lose it, and you'll know in a very short period of time which way the winds are blowing, and you can begin to make adjustments as necessary. I'd rather go all in a first year, not make it, and then just go back to doing a regular job, than to have 1 foot in, 1 foot out, and neither of them are really going very well, and you're 5 years into that before you reach that critical inflection point of deciding either to go all in on the farm business or going all back into the corporate job or whatever it is that you're working there. So bringing it all back around, managing opportunity, managing risk, making a list of everything that falls underneath those, and then deciding, is this the time to jump in, understanding the context that will apply to your situation, what adjustments you'll need to make on the fly. But my opinion is the success of a business, especially this kind of business, is not so much contingent upon what the greater economy is doing. It's contingent upon your ability to apply the concepts and principles that you know, to be flexible once you hit the ground, and to always be building that business for efficiency, for sales, for profitability, for cash flow, and being intently focused on all of those things, insanely focused on those things, irregardless of anything else that's going on. So is this the year for you to start a farm? Could be. Maybe 2 years ago was a good year, maybe 2 years in the future. It doesn't matter. It's knowing yourself, knowing your context, being comfortable with that risk, finding that opportunity, and going out there and getting after it.